We're here today to make an announcement about the restart of business, the conditions under which businesses will restart in New Bedford. And we do it with a view, obviously, to stemming the transmission of the coronavirus, but as well as giving businesses some level of certainty about what's expected of them going forward, not just now in the continued close-up phase where we are right now, but after things start to open up. So let me give a little bit of background. So, as of right now, and we'll have some data to show you guys later on, but as of right now, New Bedford in particular, but also the surrounding area, is still seeing an increase in new cases, whether we measure it by positive tests or by hospitalizations or even by ICU admissions. We're still seeing an increase. So we're still a little ways away from reopening, regardless of what the state does in the next couple of weeks or so. So we have to be, and I say that right up front because everything that we do right now in the way of liberalizing restrictions is done, has to be done incrementally. Among other things, so there are a number of measures in place now, both at the state level and the city level, that are by design meant to protect people under varying circumstances, right? To reduce the number of contacts and to lower the intensity of contacts, all with a view toward lowering the risk of transmission. We have, we've had in place a number of things. We in the city did a mask order a few weeks ago. That required customer-facing employees to wear masks. The governor followed that up just this last week, ordering everybody who's outside in public places to wear masks where social distancing isn't possible. We've, at the city level, have imposed some of the strongest restrictions on nursing homes and long-term care facilities because we know that that's a really vulnerable area. The proof is in the pudding, as it were. And we put in a number of other measures that force social distancing, that encourage mask use and encourage hygiene. One of the things that we have things that have been in place for a little bit now, the closure of schools, obviously, another area to be addressed in the long run. I'm going to hold for that truck. We're not too far away from the transfer station, from the dump, so you're going to hear a lot of trucks. We're still picking up garbage. Which brings me to where we are today and what we're doing today. Many businesses are open. Many more are to be opened. At the state level, the governor will set the terms for retail businesses by and large, but there are many other businesses out there where large numbers of people work, and where there is a possible transmission of the virus, where the virus can be transmitted. And so we wanted to make sure that, especially here in New Bedford, where we have, by modern American standards, more of an industrial local economy than other places, to make sure that we have a set of rules that are in place that make clear to businesses what's expected of them in the way of social distancing, cleanliness, and reporting. We have, here in the industrial park, some 3,000, over 3,000 employees who work here. Down on the waterfront, we have several thousand more. The Port of New Bedford supports some 7,000 jobs. There are lots of people who work in processing facilities and factories and warehouses and recycling facilities. And so today's announcement is that we're issuing two orders, jointly by me and the city's Board of Health, to set the ground rules. We have been, over the last few weeks, shutting down some businesses through cease and desist orders, and we have found that although those work to help stop the transmission of disease, they are ad hoc, and businesses need to know generally what the baseline expectations are. So that's what these orders will do. So let me just summarize them. The first order, the shorter of the two orders, simply requires that when businesses know that they have a positive on the work site, they've got to report it to the city's Department of Health. Simple enough, right? But the primary reason we do that is that we're requiring that is to facilitate contact tracing. We've seen instances where we just found out late about a small outbreak in a place of employment, and if it had been reported to us as opposed to where the employees, to the towns where the employees lived, we might have caught on to it earlier and been able to isolate people more quickly. So that's that first order is meant to remedy that situation. It extends also to temporary employment agencies, which are used by some industrial facilities as well, so they have that obligation if they operate in the city. The longer of the two orders that we issued effectively last night concerns the conditions in workplaces. And so what we're really getting at there, and you'll have copies of this to go over, what we're really getting at there is what does social distancing look like in an industrial setting, right? So in some places, especially like with advanced manufacturers like ahead, people are not working right immediately next to one another. And so the 6-foot rule applies there, and it can be easily complied with. And there are other industrial settings where it's harder to do. And so in those instances, employers will be required to put up barriers between employees. And where that's not feasible, they're going to have to wear full PPE, the mask, the shield, the gown, the whole thing, the gloves. In addition, there are a set of cleaning requirements built in so that we know that facilities are cleaned to an industrial standard, which is very important. A lot of our companies, especially on the waterfront, the seafood companies, are already regulated by the United States Department of Agriculture, which has very high standards for food businesses in general. So they should be in good shape there. And then it also requires that every employer screen employees when they show up to the work site. So they've got to take people's temperatures. Someone records a temperature above 100.4 degrees, they can't come in the building. And that includes visitors as well. We're trying to keep the virus out of large workplaces. And I will say to you that, a lot of those requirements also extend to temporary employment agencies. Again, we have large temporary employment agencies in the city that operate in a number of industrial facilities, so they are going to be responsible for that as well. The idea here really is, again, to set a basic set of ground rules. Employers are asking, so what should we be doing? This is the answer. This is what you should be doing to stem the virus. And so you might say, well, so why don't you wait for the governor to issue an order before issuing this order? And the reality is two things. One, I think there's an urgency to it. We have large workplaces that have been deemed essential where there's lots of people working now. We want to make sure that we're addressing them before any statewide order comes out. And then secondly, this is written in such a way that it'll still be in effect once things start to loosen up, once other businesses are allowed to start manufacturing, businesses like Ahead, businesses like Titleist that aren't allowed now because what they do isn't characterized by the state as essential. Once those restrictions start to dissolve, these city-based requirements will guide people going forward for the foreseeable future, so long as we're in this emergency state. So this will go. It technically goes into effect. Went into effect last night at midnight. We are not going to start enforcing it until Monday. We want to give businesses an opportunity to digest it. We'll set up a conference call so that everybody can understand what's expected of them. We'll set up a Zoom call for that purpose. We'll make sure that folks in the health department are on hand to receive the calls from businesses so that they understand what's required of them. And by and large, we've seen most industrial facilities already doing what this order requires and then some. And so, to my mind, I think this is an important way forward for New Bedford and its economy, especially the large employers. And I really want to thank the work the health department has done. Damone Chaplin, our director of health, has has lots of pots boiling on the stove right now, and this is one of them. I really appreciate his facilitating this order, as well as the chair of our Board of Health, Tricia Andrade, who has been through many episodes, many battles over the years on the Board of Health, and this is probably the most complicated one, fair to say, Tricia, and her time, her long tenure on the Board of Health. But I really want to thank you for all of your support and the support of the City Council. Brad Markey from Ward 1 is here. We're in Ward 1 right now, and we've gotten great support from the City Council along the way.